I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. Really
No
appreciate
problem.
it. And I would like to say that I'm quite first interested about the conversation that we're going to talk about in terms of whereas as much as I would say self-awareness around that, and also how do we incorporate that within mental health? And one thing that I saw your video on PodMatch, and it really fascinated me when you spoke about the observe being an observer and that
Mm,
analogy with director and script writer. So I'm quite fascinated about that, and
okay.
hopefully we'll have a conversation that will be quite interesting and will leave the audience who are listening to this podcast be amazed what we actually gonna be talking about today. So
Yeah. And who is your audience? Who are
actually,
they?
most of the people that actually listen to the podcast are young people.
Yes.
As much as they, in general, it's everyone, but most of the time it's young people that actually, I believe that there are the most people that actually look into mental health. And
Yes.
and I believe that when young people actually take that initiative, they end up, I would say, educating their fathers, their mothers, their grandparents in terms of what is mental health and how do you actually get it.
Yes.
Yeah. And also it helps them to improve themselves because
Yeah.
as much as some people have that thing of actually working on themselves, and when I'm saying working on themselves, I'm talking about physically, most of the time
Yes.
they forgot the sense of building that mental resilience and be not knowing why are they depressed, not knowing that self-awareness is something that you need to actually have, being able
Mm,
to actually analyze the environment around you that oh flip, this is
mm.
why I actually have this certain feeling. So yeah.
And yeah. So, what made you decide to do this podcast then?
Yeah, I would say that myself was part of those people that actually didn't realize that of that self-awareness of not knowing, okay, the reason why I'm actually feeling the feelings that I'm having. And to myself, as someone that grew up in an environment that I
Mm,
would say they didn't talk about mental health, they didn't talk anything that actually was conducive in a way of personal growth, of
yes.
self-awareness, and actually the I would say the importance of relationship in overall that sometimes relationships can have a positive impact within your life so and within your mental well-being. So I would say that
Yes.
and preaching the conversation around mental health that there's this thing called mental health and mental well-being there. Yeah, I would
Yes.
say that.
Fantastic. And you are based in America somewhere?
No, actually I'm based in South Africa.
Okay. South
Yeah.
Africa. Okay. So, is that where most of your audience is located, do you think?
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't say that, but most of my audience is based on America.
Okay. All right. Great. I was just curious. Because I never know where people are when it's
Mm,
virtual. Superb.
mm.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Are
uh,
you on LinkedIn as Seco?
yes, I'm on LinkedIn,
Because
but
I looked for you, but I couldn't find you. Maybe I didn't spell the name right.
yeah, probably that's most of the mistake that people have in terms of spelling my name. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just have a quick look now then while I
Okay,
think of it.
no problem. And yeah, are you ready to have the conversation in terms of the initial conversation that we actually, as I actually mentioned, in terms of talking about?
Oh yeah, you're here. Writer, talented, author, multi-talented, creative. That's you, isn't it?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I'm gonna send you a connect invite. I'm
yeah.
sending
Okay,
it
I'm
now.
gonna accept it now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
that's me.
Okay, super.
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant.
Sometimes I would say that I see myself as that certain person in a way
Yeah.
of I've tried to actually incorporate different skills within my, I would say, field in a way of
Yes.
podcasting. I'm also an author. I'm also a creative, a graphic designer, and also a business owner on the side, and also doing this podcast. So I try.
Lovely. And what are some of the books that you've published? What are they about?
Actually, it's one book, And I'm planning on actually releasing another one, which
Yes.
is based on mental health. It's in a
Yeah,
way
great.
of, it's not actually a book, I would say novel, but poetry, because I
Yes.
believe that poetry is one of those medium that easily people can relate with.
Yes.
So, yeah, yeah,
Great.
those
So-
those the books. But also, I'm thinking of writing a novel, but I'm quite busy in a moment, and
Yeah.
yeah, and doing
Do you
the
have the
research.
story in your mind already for the novel? You
That's the
have the
thing.
story?
Yes, yes, but at a certain point, but not the whole story.
You
So
could be the next Harry Potter writer, like
no, 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 not those kind of books actually. Because
yes,
my thing is about mental health. Mental health is
yeah,
something that it's, I would say, important. People actually look away from. They don't actually
yes,
understand that of late.
yeah,
Mental
yeah,
health
yeah,
is important. And while through writing books, and I believe through telling our stories, and people will end up actually relating with our stories and wanting to actually want to, I would say that, want to tell
okay.
their own stories. So that's me.
Yeah, no problem. So how long do we have now? Just to remind me.
Mm, around, I would say 40 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay. So are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, as I said that I saw your video and it actually gave me a different perspective within this. And when it comes to self-awareness, you mentioned that likening our observer to a director and a script writer gives us the power to change the course of our personal narratives.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on how someone can start cultivating this observer role,
Yes.
especially when they feel overwhelmed by their circumstances?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. How I learned it, because there was a time when I didn't really understand this or know anything about it, was way back in 2006 when I had come out of a divorce and my father had passed away,
Mm,
and I was feeling scared, anxious, lost. My head was just full of very negative and dark thinking.
mm,
And I didn't know what to do. I was just stuck in what felt like a mental suffering, like you're not in
mm,
good health. And someone said to me, "Why don't you go and?" I was backpacking in Asia at the time,
mm,
and someone there said, "Why don't you go and do a Vipassana retreat?" And I said, "I've never heard of that. What is that?" And they said, "You go into a Buddhist monastery for 10 days, and you sit in silence and meditate with the monks. And some of the monks teach you about Buddhist education, and they call it the Dharma. And it's a great opportunity to sort of take stock and reflect on where you are in your life, and you know do
mm,
some work on your own self awareness." Now, I never did any work on my self awareness particularly, so I did this retreat, and all I did was basically sit and observe myself sitting, breathing, being still without speaking to anyone.
mm,
And I saw so clearly that my mind is separate to me in a way. I'd never seen it before like that.
mm,
And how that came, because we were encouraged and invited by the monks to just observe our thinking, to notice that we were having thoughts. And it never occurred to me until that moment that I had thoughts. I just thought everyone thinks, and your thinking is you. And it's whatever you're thinking, it's you, and it's your life. But then I started to realize I could say, for example, I noticed today my thinking is um, negative,
mm,
and I can distance myself a bit as the observer. I can see it from a distance and say, I'm noticing that Ray, that's me. I
mm,
could even speak about myself as if I was a different person observing Ray to being Ray, um, because Ray is a character that I play, and
mm,
um,
mm,
it's not truly who I am as a spirit. I mean, everything about my identity is man made, if you like. My name, where I lived, where I went to school, all of those things I had very little influence over. So
mm,
that's not, I don't think that's me. Like if I, as Michael Singer says, if So we know we're not our physical bodies, because I hate to ask you this, Aseko, but if I were to cut your hand off, would you still be you?
I feel like if you have asked me this question, I would say 4 years ago, I would say no. But now, being able to experience some different of knowledge of finding myself who I am, I would say
Yeah.
that I will still be me.
Yeah, exactly. So we know, if we could go to the extremes with that, we could say, well, let's take your arms off and your legs off, you'd still be you. So we know you're not your physical body.
Mm, mm,
You can remove all of that and still you. Whatever the you is, that's a different thing. And if we were to do the same with your thinking, thoughts come and go. You can notice you have certain thoughts some of the time and different thoughts other times. So if you're the person noticing that you're thinking, you can't be the thoughts themselves, because physics, the laws of physics, the subject and an object make that impossible. So we are not, who we are is not the thoughts, but the awareness or the consciousness that's actually thinking those thoughts. And the more you can pivot into that place of looking, because it's a different vantage point on life, the more space that you have, the more options you have, the more choices that you have to decide what action you want to take. Because it's a bit like switching your autopilot off.
mm,
If you're not aware of what you're thinking, that you're just caught in the energy of the thought itself. If someone makes you angry and you're caught up in that anger energy, you're likely to take an action which is very unskillful and maybe even aggressive or violent even. But if you can see yourself and notice, wow, I am noticing right now, I'm having very angry thoughts. I'm full of anger. I'm noticing that. You can sort of see it from a distance a bit more and maybe choose to take a much calmer, useful and kind and compassionate action.
mm,
And that's how I see it. That's how I learned it through meditation. But meditation is a way of building up your awareness, because in meditation your only aim in meditation is to notice your breathing and to notice that you're sitting and to notice you're thinking. You're not in any way trying to get anywhere or achieve anything or make anything happen. You're just building up what I call your mindfulness energy.
mm, 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 mm.
And I did this for many years, and ever since I've started that practice, I've had this ability to see myself from a bit more of a distance, especially when I'm angry or annoyed or frustrated or even what's the word, demoralized or just a bit low in my mood. It helps me to stay in a place of equanimity, in a place of calmness.
Mm.
Does
And
that answer your question? I know it's a long answer.
it actually does. It actually does. And it gave me a thought and something that I believe that I have the same, I would say, the same mindset, because I don't know when in my life that I incorporated that, but eventually I did, because I remember when back in, when was it? I think it was 2022, when I had a fractured, actually I fractured my bone,
Oh,
my wrist.
oh
So
wow.
instead of actually looking it at, oh flip, this is pain, this thing hurts, I
Yeah.
saw it as a new experience. I don't know why I thought it like that. And it just came into my mind that, oh, flip, this is a new experience. And
Yeah.
in a way of, I found, actually, I looked things that actually, what can I learn from this experience? Is it the pain, or is it actually the path through healing? And actually, it gave me that. And something that
Yeah.
you mentioned that is quite important. Funny enough, I'm not quite sure if you know Chris Williamson.
I'm not sure. The name sounds familiar, but I'm
He's a
not sure.
podcaster
Okay.
from, yeah, he's from UK, but he stays in the States. And usually I receive a newsletter, 3 minutes newsletter. And something actually fascinated me is something that he referred as the monk mode, in a
Yes,
way
the monk
of
mode. Yeah.
distancing yourself from the world and actually focusing, as you spoke about, focusing on your thinking.